Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is now time for the best real estate podcast online. It is time for Lakeway Area Real Estate Talk Live with Mike and Dave Elkins, presented by Elite Realty Group. So let's get to some real estate talk now. We like to, every time we come live, actually we do, we don't like to, but we do it every single time we come live. Oh yeah, I got you. Man.
Be careful, but
I got you. We do every time that we come live. We like to talk real estate. All right, we like to talk real estate to you. So we're going to do that today. Here's what we're going to be talking about today. When you're trying to sell your house, you love to get offers, right? You love to get those offers.
Yes.
We're going to talk to you about some things today that you need to consider looking at when you do get that offer. Okay, everybody is concerned about the price.
Yes,
and you should be. All right.
Yes.
So we're not going to talk about the price because that's probably one of the biggest factors that you're going to look at is make sure that you're getting what you want, what you need, what's got to pay off, all of that from your house. All right. So price we know is a big thing, but we're going to talk today about some other things that are often overlooked because we get so stuck on the price.
Right.
But we get in other avenues and other areas of that contract, and there's a lot of things that go on within that contract. So we're going to give you some of those
So today
things.
We're all in the minds of a seller.
Yes, we're getting the offer. We're selling our house.
Everybody,
right?
Let's put our game faces on.
Yes, time to put those on. We're selling our house.
Today.
Here's what you need to be aware of when you get that offer. Here's the first thing you need to look for, other than the price. The price is a given, right?
It is.
Here's the first thing you need to look for. You need to look and find that who is responsible to pay the closing costs. Now, when there's a sale that takes place, there are seller closing costs and there are buyer closing costs.
Right.
You want to look at your contract, go over with the professional, whoever that is, or if you're selling on your own, you want to find out who's paying whose closing costs. We see this all over the board. We see it where the seller pays the sellers and the buyer pays the buyers.
Right.
We see it where the buyer pays all the closing costs.
Right.
We see it where the seller pays all the closing costs.
Right.
Here's why you need to be aware of that, okay? I'm going to say average here, okay? The average closing cost on a contract is anywhere from 3 to 5% of the purchase price, right?
Right.
I'm in the ballpark there anyways. It's not down to the penny, but I'm in the ballpark. So let's just play a game again. You're selling your house for $100,000. If closing costs was 5% of the purchase price, y'all with me still yet, right? And you, the seller, were responsible to pay those closing costs. I'm bad at math,
but I know this answer.
You would be not receiving, because you're paying the closing costs, $5,000 less than the $100,000 you're getting from your house, because you're paying the closing costs.
Right.
So if you're on a tight schedule, if that is really important to you, you could accept the $100,000 for your house.
Right.
It gets you what you need.
Right.
But by the time you take the closing cost off of that purchase price,
yes,
it could put you under what you need for the house. Would you agree with that?
When people's pricing their house, a lot of times people knows that you are fighting a payoff.
Absolutely.
A lot of people.
The majority of the time.
The majority of people fighting a payoff. So again, if you price your house, if like you just said, and you're tight,
right,
that's going to be huge.
It's big time.
When you come down to the end and you're like, oh, hold on now.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was coming up because obviously
we're
talking about 5% on 100,000. Let's go 5% on 300,000. That number grows.
Big time, man.
Big
time. Yeah.
$15,000.
So that's a big difference. But it is not a big difference.
That's what I'm saying. That's big. Yeah.
So you want to see on there who is paying the closing costs. Now, there's not like a standard.
No.
You literally see that all over the board. We couldn't tell you, well, it's 98% of the time done this way, or it's 2% of the time done this way. It's literally, that is a negotiable part.
It depends.
Of the contract.
It depends a lot on what's going on.
Right.
If it's a lot of times if these people are getting 100% loans to buy your house,
right,
a lot of times they're going to ask for you to pay their closing costs.
Sure. Right.
Just the way it is. Because they're going with a no down payment loan.
Absolutely.
A lot of times these people don't have a down payment.
Right.
Not that that's a bad thing.
No.
But I'm just saying that's
a type of loan financing they got to get to be able to purchase.
Usually a lot of times if they've got too much money saved up, they can't get a 100% loan.
Right.
So so that's just going to be a factor that you're going to have to take into consideration, even when you're pricing it.
Absolutely. And again, keep in mind, remember, it's negotiable. That is a negotiable item on the contract as well as the sales price.
I see that happens a lot, the word that is that's a negotiation almost more than the price.
A lot of times.
Is a negotiation.
Oh, yeah, a lot of times.
Who is going to end up paying closing costs.
That's right, because that's if you would have it. It's not necessarily all the time money out of pocket, but it's money off of somebody's, either the buyer paying
somebody's not
or the seller profit from the house. So somebody's not going to, or on a buyer's case, they're going to have to pay for those closing costs. Now, very rarely do you see those rolled into the loan. They're actually paid.
Right.
So that could be right out of a buyer's pocket. So again, we're talking about today things that you need to look for when you're selling your house. You get an offer in on it. You know you're going to look at the sales price.
Don't just look at that price.
But don't just get caught up in that. The first thing we've talked about today is you want to look for it on the contract and see who's responsible for paying the closing costs. Make sure then, again, after that, whether you're paying or not, the price is still acceptable to you, then you can move on and look for something else. I've got number one, you got number two. What do you got?
I want to go with a question here.
Go right ahead,
for Nicole.
Yes.
So I see that Amy is doing something to invite people.
Right.
What is she doing? Because we can't see.
I know. It doesn't show up on my phone, but it shows up on my computer. She has tagged, because she couldn't figure out how to share.
Gotcha.
So she has tagged like all kinds of people.
Gotcha.
Awesome. That's the way to do it.
Bring it on.
Thank you, Amy.
Yes, that's exactly right. Getting a lot of people going on.
Yes. All right. So we're at number two.
We're number two.
Number two is who's going to take care of the repairs.
That's big, man.
That's a big thing. Because again, you never know what you're going to get into if you got home. They're going to do a home inspection.
Right.
There's repairs need to be made. You need to take into what am I trying to say?
Consideration.
Yeah. You take into consideration of what those repair costs are going to be.
That's exactly right.
Again, if you're going to have to start putting in new heat pumps, new roofs, all that stuff, that's going to take into consideration on what you can accept as an offer.
Absolutely.
If we're fighting payoffs.
Right. And I just had this come up the other day. It is in our state contracts, and what we have, we use here, and most offices here in the Lakeway area use the state contract that's provided by the Tennessee Association of Realtors. It is built in that contract that a buyer can do an inspection, a home inspection.
Right.
Okay, now, so it's not necessarily when you get the offer, you probably don't know about any repairs at that time.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens is then the buyer's going to go get the inspection done. If they see things at that point in time they want repaired, that's when that's going to come up. But again, at that point in time, it's negotiable at that point in time.
We start negotiating.
Yeah. Who's going to do it? So they may come back and say, well, the house needs a roof. I want you as the seller put a roof on there.
Yeah.
That's negotiable. They may say, I need light sockets. I need this, I need that. That's negotiable. But again, we see so many times, why are we telling you this? One, you want to know if you're going to have to pay for the repairs, if there is even going to be any.
Right.
But the second thing is, we see a lot of people that enters into a contract and everybody agrees on that price. And the inspection's still out there to be determined.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And as a seller, they go ahead and move forward with maybe a purchase on another house.
Right.
And don't put no contingencies in there to protect this house.
Right.
And then you're stuck. Because I'm stuck in a deal here.
Yeah.
And so then when the repairs come back, you got to do whatever you got to do to get your house
I'm
repaired.
Gonna have to start doing these repairs,
So you want to look at those and be aware of who's responsible for them, when's the inspection is going to be done, so that keeps you from kind of getting in a pinch moving forward. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you want to look at it again, who's responsible for paying for, if there is going to be any.
Right.
As everything else that we've talked about today, that's negotiable.
Right.
That's
I read something the other day, and this might be totally off subject, but it is talking about seller repairs. And it's talking about, I guess, maybe for the buyer. It's kind of for both, I guess, but you could look at it this way, but it's talking about buyers should never ask a seller to do a repair that's under $100. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. I mean,
it just depends. I mean,
I think it's a personal preference.
I think it's personal preference. I think it is kind of being petty, though, like you just said about some things about their.
Right.
But if it's I tell people if it's a safety concern.
If it's a safety concern,
that's
why I was going to say it depends.
If it's a safety concern, I pretty much tell a lot of sellers that, look, if they're asking for this, this, and this, then anything that's really a safety concern, you're probably going to have to do that, because an appraisal.
Right,
when the appraiser comes, he's going to come look, and if he sees it, there ain't no ifs, ands, buts about it.
Handrails, things like that are very common that people want you to do. And again, those are safety repairs, but also, depending on the type of loan that you're going to be getting, it's an appraisal issue too. So you're going to want to make sure that is a part of it. If you've just joined us, Amy's inviting the world, right?
Yes.
She's tagging the world.
Yes.
So let's make sure we tell everybody what's going on here, just in case you've just got in and you have no idea what you've got into. This is episode number 92, Lakeway Area Real Estate Talk Live, presented by Elite Realty Group. We're based right here out of Morristown, Tennessee. We got two things going on today, as well as giving you some real good real estate information. But two things you're going to want to pay special attention to. We have a contest going on where we're giving away 4 tickets to the Corbella Shrine Circus in Knoxville, Tennessee, October the 12th through the 14th, 5 different showings. These tickets will get you into one of those showings. All you have to do to be entered to win these tickets is do just a couple things. Like the video you're watching, share the video that you're watching, invite 5 of your friends, and guess a number between 1 and 92. The person that does those things and gets closest to the number that I've got written down on the back of this piece of paper here is going to win these 4 tickets at the conclusion of the show today. The second thing is we have a would you rather question. We're asking you today to give us some feedback on this. Would you rather have your dream home in a dream location with no power? Right? Dream home in a dream location with no power, or would you rather have your current home that you live in right this very moment and never pay a power bill again? Right?
That's tough.
You went with never pay a power bill again. I went with never pay a power bill again. Several people, though, dream home, dream location, no power.
So it's
up to you, but we want to hear from you guys.
So Karen
today
has made a really good point here. Karen said that's why she's talking about what we're talking about today. She said that's why you guys have said in the past that a seller should have a home inspection to see if any repairs need to be made before selling, so you don't risk losing any money.
Yeah, you know, you kind of already know up front. Great point by Karen. You already kind of know up front, well, this is what the home inspector sees is wrong, could be potential safety hazards. You're able to go ahead and get them fixed prior to, and then you ain't got to worry about that later on down the road. Exactly. So that is an option for you, and it's a recommended option. You should do those things. Again, that just sets your house above everybody else. We're giving you 2. We've gave you 2. We're going to give you 4. So we got 2 more today. Again, things to consider when looking at an offer. First one was who's paying the closing costs. Second one's who's taking care of the repairs. The third one is you want to look at when can we close this deal?
Yes.
And that's a big one, right? Right. That is a big one because so many things revolve around when's this deal going to close. Right. One thing is that's when you're going to get your money. Right. Right. The second thing is if you are purchasing another home, that's when you probably want that one to close too. Right. That way you close one, buy another one.
Same
you ain't got to live
there
in
one time.
your car for a month or whatever, you know. You're able to do those things.
Parents' basement.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it is, again, a closing issue. But you also want to look at it and say, is this buyer pre-approved? Am I going to have to wait on all those things to be done? So on and so forth. You want to know that information up front, which tells you, I'm going to say a close date.
Right.
To when you're going to be able to close.
They're going to put a closing date on that contract. Yeah. I tell people this all the time. There's a closing date on the contract. Mm-hmm. Usually you put it out 30, 45. Some people put it out 60 days. It just depends. That don't mean at that point in time. Right. That's when you're closing that deal.
Things happen.
That is just a number in the wind.
Right.
You're saying if everything goes good. Right. It's not saying that you cannot close before.
Right.
You can close before.
Yeah, close it early. Yeah. If all parties agree.
Again,
negotiable. Yeah, it's negotiable.
Right. Yeah. But I'm just saying that a lot of people put that into that time. Yeah. And they look at that date and they be like, well, I mean, I don't know about this stuff.
I'm not waiting 60 days.
I'm not waiting 60 days.
I'm not waiting 60 days.
Well, I'm not saying it's going to be. But so don't take that. Look at the date. But more importantly is what you hear us say all the time. Know that buyer. Yeah. Not saying you got to go meet him, shake his hand. Right. But I'm just saying know as much information about that buyer as you can at that time. Right. Is he really already pre-approved? If you don't get a pre-approval letter with that offer, don't even accept
Check it out. Check it out. Yeah. You want to look in and see those things. Again, this tells you, because you got plans to make. One thing is you got to get out of that house.
Have to go somewhere.
You don't want to have to pack up everything. Again, only to get up to the day and say, well, it's going to be another month, or it's going to be this, and you're living out of a box for a month, or you've already moved out. Right. You know, and it gets right to that time. So you want to look at those closing dates and see if that's solid all the way through that
process. So again, that's number 3. What do you got for number 4?
Number 4 is if it's all cash.
Yeah.
What are you going to do if it's all cash?
That changes a lot of things.
Well,
it could.
I never heard this just a while back.
Could.
Yeah, it could change a lot of things.
Yeah.
But this is something that you got to take into consideration as a seller. Is just what we said. What are you going to do?
Right.
If you get an all cash deal?
Right.
Because that's totally, it can.
Right.
Totally speed the whole process up.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
So I actually just know some people recently who put an offer in on a house that was going to be an all-cash deal.
Right.
And the sellers actually would not accept their offer.
Right.
Because they wanted it to, they
wanted to speed up the
all
process.
cash, we want to close in 2 weeks.
Yeah, right.
Full price.
Right.
All cash.
Think of that.
And the sellers said no.
They just wasn't ready for it.
Said there's no way we can have our stuff packed up and moved in 2 weeks.
Right, right.
So, but I'm just saying, cash offers, I don't care what price range you're in, anywhere from $1 to $1 million or more.
Right.
There is cash. There's people who have cash.
Oh, yeah.
And be prepared for them to make an offer on your house.
Right, right.
So then take that into consideration.
Oh, yeah. And we've said many times on here, you want to have these conversations prior to ever putting that house on the market because you literally don't know.
Think it through.
That the day you put it on the market, somebody's just got to have it and they got cash and they're ready to go.
Yeah.
We had a whole show one time, do you buy first or sell first?
Right.
That's a debate within itself. But things you got to be looking for on this, is it a cash deal? And can you
pull
meet
it off?
the time frames and the demands?
Again, you can ask them.
Oh, yeah, it's negotiable.
It's negotiable. There's that date again. That date's negotiable. Well, a lot of times what has happened here is somebody has sold their house.
Yep.
And they need to be in another house
absolutely
in 2 weeks and 2 days.
Right.
So that's what they're trying to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to be able to, again, these are things, what we're talking about today, what the information we've gave you about today.
Amy says she could be out there in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially if they come on cash.
They come with cash.
I would try my best. I think if I could get out, I would try my best, I think, to
again, because, I mean, what if you never get another offer?
Sure. Yeah, that could be like
what if that's your offer?
Right.
And you turned it down.
Right. I mean, and again, circumstances, I know
I understand.
We've been criticized before because we say you don't see the real world, but I understand the circumstances are going to dictate that, and each individual is going to have their own little reason
she'd be out before the week was up.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would, but again, circumstances dictate that.
We thank each and every one of you for listening to today's podcast. Tune in for future episodes by subscribing to our channel and get the latest and greatest real estate information right here on Lakeway Area Real Estate Talk Live, presented by Elite Realty Group. Until next time, have a great and blessed day.